This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-new Prologue EV, there's a lot that can impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
L is
Yup,
for the way
that's who you think it is. The Grimace Mug. The Hello Kitty keychain. Barbie herself. For a limited time, your favorite McDonald's collectibles filled with memories and magic are now on collectible cups. Get 1 of 6 when you order a collector's meal at McDonald's with your choice of a Big Mac or 10-piece McNuggets. Come get your cup while you still can. At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AEye Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AEye Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AEye Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, welcome to AEye Scouted on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Dave Hedrick, joined as always by Mr. Karl Matchett. How are you, sir?
1 game down, 37 wins to go.
Yes, indeed. The Reds start marching, and hopefully we end up in a good place come May. It's going to be a long season, but I don't think it's going to be as long for us as some of the other teams that I watch play this weekend, who look to already have no hope for the season. But Karl,
that's very early.
There are 11 days left in this transfer window, including today. And there are no rumours at the moment around Liverpool other than the reporting on Mamardashvili. And we've had David Ornstein today say we're not expected to pursue Mark Guehi, which isn't a surprise to me because why would we? He doesn't start for us and he would cost £70 million. So he'd be far too expensive to bring in as a backup should Joe Gomez leave. And obviously Joe does look like he's one of the ones that will leave. So let's have a little look at Liverpool in terms of what ins and outs we think they should do over the remaining 11 days. Now, it does look like Bobby Clark is going. That offer has been accepted from Red Bull Salzburg. I believe he's due to have his medical today. So that's one that's off the table. We can factor that as a done deal.
Are you happy with that one?
Yeah, I am, because this is how I think they've looked at this squad, right? I think they've gone through and thought, okay, these are the players that are good enough. These are the players that are not. These are the players that we think will be good enough, but not for a year or two. And in that group, I think you're looking at Stefan Bajcetic, Cade Gordon. And I think that's why there will be loans for them, but we're not entertaining the idea of selling them. And then I think there's a group of young players, including Clark and Ben Doak and James McConnell, and maybe 1 or 2 others that they've looked at and thought, we think they might be good enough, but not for 2 or 3 years. And they're not going to play enough in the interim to develop here. And we don't see the benefit in loaning them because they'd need multiple loans in back-to-back years, and we don't want to get into doing that because that just disrupts players' development. So what we'll do is we'll sell them and we'll put some protections on them. I think Carvalho's like that as well. I think they've looked at him and thought, in a couple of years maybe, but not now, and it won't benefit anybody to have him out on loan, have him come back, have him out on loan. So we're going to sell him, Clark, Doak, a couple of others, and if they become good enough, great, we'll have the opportunity to bring them back. If they become really good but not good enough for us, we have the protection in there of a sell-on clause, which is what we did with Solanke. So I'm not, being honest, Karl, of the young players that I've seen play for the club over the last 2 or 3 years, the only ones that I've looked at and thought, oh, I can definitely see you being a starter, are Treniani and Besetic, but Besetic with some alterations to his game. I think those are the only two I've looked at. Maybe Cade, but we saw so little and then he got hurt. He did look like he had something really special about him, but he also missed then 15 months of football. So we'll see where he is. But I never looked at Bobby Clark and thought, yeah, I can see a world in which you're a starter for this club. I haven't looked at Ben Doak and thought, yeah, definitely a starter. He's got no end product. So for me, I've no issue selling these players and moving them all. I think this is what the academy is for, is to be self-sustaining and also provide funds for the first team.
Yeah, no, I do agree with almost all of that. I just personally would have grouped Clark into the contributors category, that's all. I really, really like the look of him. I just think it's a bit of a low fee considering how much we've seemed to be asking for some of the others. When I consider Nat Phillips' price for about 3 years in a row was more than that. I just see a much higher level to Clark.
I definitely see a much higher upside on Bobby Clark than I do on someone like Nat Phillips. But we also have to remember Bobby Clark has played, 12 games for us? 14 games for us. And last season he played 12 and most of them were sub-appearances. There hasn't been enough minutes there. I think part of why we've accepted a slightly lower fee is because he might have asked to leave. I think there's a possibility that he asked to go and play somewhere, whereas I don't think Nat ever really has. Nat is also older. I think they view centre-back as a position where you can get a premium on players. I think we've been stupid on that, though, in fairness. I just think that's one of the dumbest things we've done is keep that boy around. But, we paid $1 million for Clark. We're getting 10 million for him, 2 years, 3 years later? So it's good profit for us. It'll all be off our books, so it will class as 10 million of pure profit on our accounts. I think that's very good. I think Carvalho is probably going to class almost entirely as pure as profit as well. I know we've got a kickback to Fulham to pay there, but I'm in favour of doing this. I'm in favour of us signing young players like this, developing them for a couple of years and moving them on. And I'm just looking at Clark's Wikipedia page here and just talking about when he moved to Liverpool. He agreed a professional contract with the club shortly after his 17th birthday. The contract was for 5 years and came with a personal guarantee from Jurgen Klopp that there was a pathway to the first team available for him. And that is linked to an article in the Chronicle Live, which is obviously a Newcastle publication, when they were trying to explain away why he left the Toon to go to us, that Klopp had promised him a pathway, which I think Klopp did to a few young players. And obviously Arne is not going to fulfill that promise because he didn't make it. And if he doesn't view Clark as being ready, and I'm not sure how he was able to judge, obviously, because Clark missed most of pre-season or all of pre-season with the injury. But clearly Clark wants to go and play and wants to play regularly and probably doesn't want disruption in his life, doesn't want to go on loan, come back, go somewhere else, come back, and then maybe go out a third year on loan. He wants to go somewhere that he knows he can settle in. And obviously, Salzburg, there's going to be familiarity because of who the manager is and who his assistant is. I think Kohlmeier's there as well. So Kronmeier's there as well. So there's three of them there that he will know very well. And I think that's a decision that Bobby has made for his future. And I think the club have given, fair value on him.
Yeah, it's fair enough then. That's just a curious one, I thought, price-wise and how much he contributed last season compared to a few of the others. But like you say, the academy should be there to generate players and profit for the club, depending on the circumstances of each. You've got to be really, 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 really good to get into our first team squad.
100%. So with him going, that brings in another chunk of money. You factor in the Carvalho deal, the Clark deal, the Solanke sell-on, the Alberto sell-on, and the Grabara sell-on. And we've actually brought in quite a lot of money this summer. Joe Gomez looks like he will be next, potentially out the door. A lot of interest in Joe. And if he wants to leave, I don't think anybody could blame him. I don't think anyone could hold it against him because he just needs to go and play regularly. He wants to start regularly. He wants to be in the England squad the whole time. So if it's Aston Villa, I think that'd be a great move for him. Other clubs mentioned have been included Palace. That would obviously depend on where he's going, and I'm not sure they'd spend the money on Joe. Fulham have been mentioned. The Toon have been mentioned, and Bayern were mentioned, but that has been denied now by German press. So he'll have options, and we'll see what happens there. It doesn't look like there was any interest at all this summer in Kostas Tsimikas, so it looks like he'll be sticking around. Who else in the squad do you think potentially goes between now and the end of the window? Not counting Cade, Bisetic, and Jayden Danns, who I think have all been told you guys can head out on loan this year. We're quite high on you, but we want you to go and get games. Who else do you think is likely to go?
I think Kelleher's got to be still top of that list. We don't really seem to hear anything about clubs going for him, which I'm quite surprised at. He was quite, not vocal in a pushy way, but certainly vocal about if the opportunity arises, yeah, that's a possibility. I would have thought that there would be a few teams ready and waiting to go in for him, to be perfectly honest. We've seen news today. Wolves are in for Aaron Ramsdale. Fine, but there's a much easier deal to be done. I don't know that there's a world of difference between the performance levels last year that we saw from either one of those two second choice goalkeepers. I
would say Kelleher was more impressive last season.
I would say he was comfortably more impressive last season. But
I think that the logic here might be, so John Percy is who I would class as like the best for Midlands clubs in terms of information among the journalists. I think he's got his hand on the pulse there in the Midlands. He said that Wolves basically have a budget of about 20 million for the remainder of this window, and they wanted a goalkeeper and a centre-back. So you'd imagine the 20 million, like you're not going to get any kind of decent centre-back for any less than 20 million that's going to walk in and be Premier League ready. So maybe that's what they're doing. They have to prioritise spending on a centre-back and then doing the loan with an obligation to pay for Ramsdale next summer. And they probably are aware, or maybe they've called us and asked if we do that for Keller, and clearly it's not something that we're willing to do.
Well, it could be the case. I think we'll have to accept that, other teams are going to let it go down to the deadline day if they are interested, and sooner or later you've got to either accept you haven't got the leverage you wanted, or he really is going to have to push for the move, one or the other. From the rest, Phillips we've already spoken about. I don't know if he's just now going to stay at Liverpool until he's like 300 years old and just accept that it is what it is, or what the story is there. Reece Williams, the same, I guess. Gomez from the defence is obviously the one where you'd look at and say, given how it looks like we'll line up on a regular basis, you would say he's the one who could be sold and not lose out in terms of starting quality and also raise the most funds, but then you've still got to replace him because he does cover a lot of ground for us across the course of the year.
This is the thing, like Joe fills a lot of gaps in the squad, and he kind of last year became sort of the new Milner in that he played right back, left back, centre back and defensive midfield. And that obviously does have a lot of value in the squad. So if Joe goes, do you think it means that Vandenberg stays? Or do you think it wouldn't really affect it one way or the other? Because I'm just thinking, like, at the moment we've got 5 centre-backs. And my view is if you play a back 2, you need 5 centre-backs because you want to have 2 backups and you just want to have someone else that can fill in. So you don't want to get caught short. If you get 2 injuries, you don't want to go into a game with just your 2 centre-backs and nobody that's on the bench able to come on. And we have in Ibu a centre-back that gets injured, fairly often. So you'd want to have somebody else in the squad, I think. But it feels to me like they are open to selling Sepp, which I don't agree with. I think he's one that you should be keeping around for this year. But that would mean we have to go and buy a centre-back. Surely if Gomez and Sepp go, I think even if just Joe goes, we have to go and buy a centre-back.
Well, if Gomez goes, you have to replace him. Simple as that. Like, even if you say we're fine with fullbacks now because Bradley is obviously seen as a first-team environment player, I wouldn't be happy if our 3 after the 2 seniors are Kwanzaa, who, let's face it, is still only just out of his first season, Sepp, who's not proven at our level, and Nat Phillips, who hasn't been in our squad really for...
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Anything other than the season where we had no centre-backs. Like, at no point, as long as he's been here, he hasn't been part of the go-to group other than that season where we literally had nobody. So if those 3 are the backup to the 2, I would be concerned about that.
Yeah, I would as well. I think this is where, if we're going into the market, if it's just Joe, if Sepp stays and Joe goes, I think if we're going out to buy a defender, I think someone like Piero Hincapié or Goncalo Inacio or Castello Luqueba make a lot of sense for us because obviously they can come in, they can start at left back, but they can also give you that centre back cover. And if you've got Robbo and Costas in the squad, if they're needed at centre back, then we have a left back that can step in, even if it alters things a little bit. And I do wonder if that's what they'll pursue.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, I would have preferred to have got, let's say, 2 of those non-senior defenders off the books already at this point. Between Williams, Phillips and Vandenberg, I think a decision needed to be made earlier and sort of find a place for them earlier. At least 1 of them, if not 2, because it just muddies the water, I think, if you're suddenly feeling like, wow, well, we could keep him around and then he's cover, but they're not. We already know they're not.
No, they're not. And again, you look at Nat Phillips and you just think, like, why? Why is he still at the club? Why can't we just accept 4 million for him? Like, we signed him for nothing. We've already made, a couple of million on loan fees because he's been out on loan, I think, 4 different times. Just let the lad go and have his career. And the same with Reece Williams. Like, with the greatest of respect to Reece Williams, he had that one run in the team a couple of years ago where, credit to him and Nat did really, really well. And we all owed them a big thanks because they stepped into the breach and performed at a decent level. But he's been on loan at Kidderminster, which was non-league, and he did okay. He went to Swansea, and it was a disaster. He went to Blackpool, it wasn't great. He went to Aberdeen, couldn't get a game. Just couldn't get a game in the Scottish Premiership. And then he went on loan to Port Vale, and I think he got injured. And I just don't understand why he's still at the club. Like, he's not good enough for the Premier League level. He hasn't shown he's good enough at the Championship level. He's yet to show he's even good enough at League One level. So what is the benefit in having him around? Let the lad go and have a career. Set up a free transfer for him. Like, he came through the academy. There's no outlay on him. There's no money needed to be recouped on him. Just let the lad go and have his career. He's 23 now. And he needs to be playing football. So for me, I'd be looking at him and saying, okay, look, Reece, let's get your agent on the phone to clubs and find you a home, and we won't want a fee or anything. We'll wish you well and send you on your way. There's no point in having him around.
No, it certainly isn't. I think, like I say, I would have preferred one or two of those to be future sorted already at this point before the season starts, for their sake as much as ours. But certainly in terms of us discussing what we need to do, if anything, who can we let go if there's interest, and so on and so forth. But here we go. It's just seems to be the case. Like I say, they're just going to be one or two of those players feel like they're going to be here for all eternity, basically.
Then in midfield,
I think this is easy. I don't think we do anything at all unless somebody comes in. Simple as that. I don't think we can possibly let anybody go until after we've signed someone now. It's too late.
See, I would loan out Besetic to get him games because he won't get them with us. But as things stand, unless we're signing somebody, I would keep Tyler Morton around, because when I look at the squad, he's the one I'd actually want playing as the 6, even though he's not really a 6 and hasn't really played there. He's still the one I'd want, because I just think he's going to be more comfortable in that role than the other options. I mean, Endo's obviously is a 6, but he's not the type of 6 that the manager wants. Gravenberch played there at the weekend. First half, I just thought he was dreadful. Second half, he played very well, but he had lots of time and space on the ball. He wasn't being asked to play under pressure the way he was in the first half, and he also had no defensive work to do. So he was fine. But I still think when it comes to tougher games, teams that will press relentlessly, teams that are not going to run their legs out of themselves in the first half, I still think he'll struggle like he did in the first half against Ipswich. So I would be more confident if it was Tyler Morton, because there's just a bigger sample size with him of games in England under pressure, playing in physical games, whereas we don't have that with Gravenberch. And I think Tyler's a better defensive player as well.
If we look at what Liverpool have coming up, basically, now obviously before the transfer window shuts is not a huge amount of games, just Brentford basically, so he's going to play there anyway. But let's say before we play Arsenal, which I think is the first, obviously difficult game we have Brentford, we've already played it, so we should play Brentford, away to Man United, which we know circumstantially is a difficult game, but performance-wise, I don't know if you watched their opener, I thought that was much, much more of the same.
Yeah.
Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves, Palace, and then Chelsea. So I would suggest all the way through to Wolves, pending obviously a late turnaround from Zubimendi or anything else arising out of absolutely nowhere. I just want to see Gravenberch start them all. I think that's a run of games. Liverpool should have all the possession in for the most part. We should have obviously improving awareness of patterns of play, build up, how we want to play up from the back, the pressing system, and as Slots referred to it, the duels that we need to win for the first ball, second balls, all of that, the team is going to be getting better in because we'll be the dominant force in most matches. I think by the end of that run, sort of, let's say, the end of the October international break, I think by then we should have a good idea of what Gravenberch can do.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But I also look at the Ipswich team that played, no Premier League experience in that team. All Championship players, including the boys they brought in. And they ran the legs out of themselves. They caused us trouble in the first half, and then they just gassed out. Brentford, very experienced midfield. Very physical midfield. United, it's an average midfield, but it's a big-ass pitch. And they're good on the counter. And that concerns me. Forest, I don't really have any worries about. Bournemouth, it just depends on who's available. That Wolves midfield is very, very physical. They press really well. And then Palace, it's a narrow pitch at Selhurst, but if it's Doucouré back in by then, I think a Doucouré and Wharton midfield is better than what we're putting out there. Like, Doucouré is significantly better than Gravenberch. Alexis is a better player than Wharton, but Wharton's outstanding. That's a midfield pairing that I don't like us up against. And then we get Chelsea, and God knows what you're going to get from that. I mean, who knows what they're going to do. And then, like you said, Arsenal, then Brighton, then Villa. See, this is the run that concerns me. Palace, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, Villa. That's a very, very tough run of games.
Yeah, that's where we already need to be clear in what we're doing and who's got each role.
Yeah. You know, it was like that first half, all our midfield did was foul. They won no duels. They couldn't get close to players. They were just pulling and dragging out of people. And they were fortunate enough that they weren't both on yellow cards going into the break. Because just from the accumulation of fouls. I don't know. Second half, they were really, really good. Like, no question, they were really, really good. The three of them. But it was an awful lot easier because Ipswich had stopped pressing us. And they'd also stopped attacking. Because their long ball was gone, because Ibu took care of that. And then when Burns went off, their other outlet was gone. And it just became a lot easier for us. And to credit to our lads, they did put the foot down and absolutely throttle them. But that first half worried me quite a bit.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a few games of that, though, aren't we? It's all part of it, all part of the adaptation and new sort of setup. And obviously, in the middle of all these games we're talking about, we'll have Champions League start as well. So,
yeah, well, this is the thing.
We've got games, which is fine. That's the thing we need for them to start getting things sorted out and set up the right way. But at the same time, you can't just waste those games. You have got to be second half against Ipswich right from the start in some of these, because starting slowly was a big issue for us last year.
Yeah, no, it was 100%. Right. With the attack, I think we loan out, a couple, but I think all the senior ones have to stay. And of the four young ones, Gordon, Doak, Dans, and Blair, I think we should keep one of them. Like, I don't want them all to go. And as things currently stand, it does look like three of them at least will go, two on loan and potentially Harvey Blair on a permanent deal. And the one that would stay behind is Dan's, who's currently injured. and also is a 9, and we already have 2 9s?
I think it's quite important Gordon goes and does something somewhere.
Yeah.
But we're not going to see any kind of, best of him or anything like that this year. He's just not going to get the games. So I don't have a problem with him going somewhere at all. I kind of think Dan's is the right one to keep around, to be honest. Kumas obviously has gone as well. I'm not against Dan's being the one who stays. I know he's a 9 and we have 2 9s, but...
No, I love him. I think he's excellent.
Yeah, I just feel like Jota obviously starting out first choice, but again, you mentioned Konate has had injury issues. Jota's had more. We need to be wary of that. And maybe even just for the fact of Nunez, maybe he'll play left, maybe he'll play through the middle, but also maybe he'll need to show that you can't just walk onto the pitch. He didn't come on in the first game. Gakpo did instead, and then sort of shifted himself left as well. So, yeah, I'm not against Dan's being the one who sticks around and just gets games here and there where he can, where we need him.
Yeah, no, like I really like Dan's. I would worry about how many games he would get, but he is only 18. Like he's a year and 3 months, I think, younger than Cade Gordon. So, there's more time on his side than there is maybe with Cade. Andy Blair is about to turn 21, which I didn't realise. So he kind of maybe does make sense to move him on because he does look quite a way away. Even though I did like what I saw in pre-season, but it was more of the physicality, the willingness to run, and the needle that he had about himself. So, right, that's what we think should happen in terms of outgoings. So in terms of incomings, Karl, it does look like Mamardashvili is one that will happen. Apparently, we've now upped our bid for him again. What else do you think needs to happen? Obviously, I think we both agree, like a 6 is absolutely a necessity.
Yeah.
What else would you say has to happen?
Has to. We'll fall short of potentially third if it doesn't happen.
No, because the aim shouldn't be third for us.
Yeah, I'm just trying to clarify.
I think this team finishes third as is. I think the team finishes third as is. Because I just don't think the league is very good.
I mean, in terms of have to do, then what is that to achieve? Just to win the league. To win the league. To win the league.
That's the only thing that this club should only exist to win the league and the Champions League.
I know.
And we need to get out of the mindset that Jurgen had of, we're these great underdogs, because that's just not.
I get that.
Doesn't
I'm
fit
just
with
saying,
anybody.
In terms of what we have to do, what to achieve, that's all I'm doing is saying.
To challenge for the league, say. Let's not say win, but to challenge for the league.
Okay, then left back who could play centre back, and personally, I think another forward.
So would more of a wide forward?
Yes, preferably I would have a forward who could play both wings. Can cover both wings basically.
So like Mohamed Kudus, but not necessarily him because the fee would be extortionate at this point in the window.
Yeah, a proper inside forward rather than playmaker, I would say.
So someone that'll get you goals.
Yeah, basically a ball carrier, a runner at the defence, someone who'll get shots away, and can hit the byline like he's liking his wide forwards to do at the minute.
Would you take Noni Madeki?
No, I find him wildly inconsistent.
Yeah, I think so do I.
Someone a bit further along developed, not necessarily age wise, but just development wise.
Yeah, no, it's just the reason I brought him up is because Chelsea have been mentioned as a club with interest in Joe. Yeah. And I was just wondering, is there somebody there? I mean, there's a few players there that I could see us having some interest in. There's two obvious ones in midfield, but I don't think that will happen. They're wide forwards. The only one I'd really want, well, obviously, you'd obviously take Palmer and Kunku, but they're not going to sell them.
No.
I'd love Neto, but they've only just brought him in. I'm just trying to think who else they have in that squad that would make sense for us. I mean, they won't part with Caldwell. I wouldn't want Badiashile, having seen him in the Premier League. Bashir Humphreys is not of the level that we require, even though I do think he's talented, but he's probably not ready for the Premier League yet. They've got such a weird squad. Anyway, yeah, no, I think you're right. Like, I would even take a young foot wide forward. Like, we were linked with Dario Osario, the young Chilean, early in the window. I would take him as the wide forward we bring in.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Yup, that's who you think it is. The Grimace Mug. The Hello Kitty keychain. Barbie herself. For a limited time, your favorite McDonald's collectibles filled with memories and magic are now on collectible cups. Get 1 of 6 when you order a collector's meal at McDonald's with your choice of a Big Mac or 10-piece McNuggets. Come get your cup while you still can. At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last.